One thing's for sure, decluttering and organizing your home saves you money. But if you've lived on a tight budget, does that affect the way you think about your stuff? In today's podcast, we're going to talk about decluttering when you're on a budget.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more, or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook.
Leslie, I'm happy because we're talking about money and decluttering and saving money, all the things that I think are really important.
Let me ask you a question then, right? So the Dutch in general have a reputation for being frugal. So do you think that that is a thing across the Dutch? I know it's not going to be like for every single Dutch person, because that's ridiculous to say. But do you think it's a trait that's common amongst the Dutch people?
I probably would say so. Yes. Yes, I think it is changing. I think we're all succumbing more to marketing techniques and buying the latest gadget and gizmo and, wanting to have more stuff and maybe outdo our neighbors. I don't know. But I think if I look back at my parents and my grandparents, I think I can definitely see that frugal trait in them. And I think I've still got it in me as well.
I just don't know why it's any different. If I look at my parents and grandparents, they were more frugal than we are. And so I don't know why the Dutch, why do you think the Dutch, there must be some sort of ideas that sit behind it, why the Dutch are regarded as being more frugal. Is it like this sort of Calvinistic sort of thing or something like that? Is that what it is? Something to do with that? I can't remember. I should know really. But because I've studied Dutch history and culture at university, but honestly, that has firmly gone out of my mind, as has the language itself. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the Dutch. We are here to talk about how to declutter when you're on a budget. And it's a really interesting topic because money is very much inherently wrapped up in decluttering. Money comes into money, budget comes into it quite a lot. Because it comes from a place, most clutter comes from a place of having spent money and acquired things, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's the exception that proves the rule. Because people have a lot of clutter because other people give them stuff all the time, or they are like treasure hunters and everywhere where they see something useful, somewhere when they're like walking outside or something, they'll pick it up and take it in. But let's be honest here. Most people have a lot of stuff because they themselves have bought it and brought it in their houses. And they've maybe bought it in the shops. They might have found it online. They might have gone into the charity shop and bought stuff. They might have gone onto Frugal, Free Cycle, or Olio and thought, that is handy. Somebody's giving that away. I'm going to put that in my house. The only thing is, if you want to make headway with your decluttering and organizing, you have to be careful what comes in. However it comes in.
I'm just really interested in the principle of a treasure hunter. I've got this kind of like really exciting like image in my mind of a treasure hunter walking around the streets trying to find treasures. Anyway, but I think it's still fair to say that even the people that are gathering things from other places on a free basis probably have succumbed to spending money on things that perhaps they don't need and now struggle to let go of them. So decluttering on a budget. So is there a way that you can declutter your home cheaper, like without spending any money?
No. Apart maybe from like using boxes that you've got in a house, or you see these little hacks that you take off the little lid from like a can, and then you use that to connect two hangers together. I mean, of course, there's loads of little hacks and things like that, but in the end, I think the only way is to, if you've got like a shoe box, you can reuse it as something to organize in a drawer or in a cupboard. But decluttering other stuff, I don't know.
I mean, the thought of taking a toothpaste holder and trying to use it to gather a hanger together leaves me cold, to be fair. That sounds like way too much like hard work. I think the reality is not really. Yes, of course, there are hacks and storage solutions that you can repurpose, find differently, and that's going to save you money. But ultimately, decluttering your home does not cost you any money. It saves you money. You know what I mean? So you can't make any savings because it doesn't cost you any money in the first place. What's cost you the money is the acquisition of stuff in the past and your mindset about how you're going to acquire that in the future. And so that's really what we're going to talk about today. Is we're going to talk about how you can, if you are on a budget at home, what can you do with the stuff that you've got in your home to make sure that going forwards you save money and spend your very valuable money on the things that are the right thing for you and your home and your family, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about the boxes again, Ingrid. So we're talking about repurposing boxes. So aside from using a toothpaste container to put hangers together in some kind of crazy hack, what
no, Leslie, no, the little lids that are on cans, like Fanta or Sprite or Coke. You've got the little
like
openers.
ring pulls.
I don't know what the name is, but they're like the little thingies, and you can click them off a can, and then you've got like a little metal thing with two holes, and you can put like one on a hanger, and you can put another hanger in the other little hole, and then you can kind of divide.
Yeah, we don't even like that. We don't even like a multi-tier hanger. We don't even advocate buying a multi-tier hanger, and we're definitely not going to advocate making your own.
Exactly, but you could do that if you wanted to save money decluttering.
You know what? I'm gonna lay it out there on the table. Don't waste your time using Coke ring pull hacks. Just concentrate your efforts on saving money by having the right things in your home. Anyway, but thank you for sharing that hack, Ingrid. Is that one that you came up with, or
I just thought about that because I think I saw it.
But you'd cut your finger on the Coke ring thing, but because they're not even attached to the cans at the time.
I don't even drink out of cans anyway. I hardly drink any sodas anyway. So, but that's what I mean. I mean, people get creative and they get hacks and the things. But what I would do is if I get an empty shoebox, not that happens a lot, but it does occasionally happen, you could use it as a storage container. You don't have to buy loads of fancy storage, because I think that's what we see out there, is that when people are decluttering and organizing, they think they have to buy lots of stuff to get decluttered and organized. And I know this sounds a bit crazy, but we're like, please stop buying stuff to get organized. You need to declutter first.
Yeah. And I think, further down the line, if you can, there are cost-effective solutions out there for storage for sure. The quality might be impacted a little bit, particularly if they are plastic, if you go for the kind of lower cost options. But if that's what you're working with, then absolutely you can save money. We don't even all need to be at Muji paying £25 for a plastic thing. Do you know what I mean? We can get things much more cost effective, or we can use shoe boxes, we can use Amazon boxes. But the thing is, in order to get Amazon boxes and to get shoe boxes, hopefully you're looking to things that you already have in your home, because we don't want to buy a new pair of shoes to get a shoe box, because that's a very expensive container, isn't it? Yeah. But other than that, I can't think of anything that you can do in your home that means that you can declutter more effectively if you're on a budget, or you can save money whilst decluttering. It's all about future-proofing things, looking after your future self, and doing things in your home that mean that you are going to make the most out of the money that you've got. And the first thing we want to talk about when decluttering is something that we typically put right at the end of our decluttering journey, which is paperwork and like digital files, right?
Yes. we are definitely, when we have members and a membership, we're like, leave your decluttering, leave your paperwork and your digital till later. Start with your kitchen and your bathroom and those kinds of areas, because people need to learn how to declutter and organize. But if you're like, right, I really need to make some big savings, paperwork and digital decluttering is where you need to go, because that's really where it adds up. Because if your paperwork is in a right state and it's muddled and you don't know which bills are paid, you don't know what's going on, you don't even know how much you pay for your gas, water, electricity, and all of those things, then it makes it really hard, for example, to do a price comparison on things. If you don't even know how much you're spending, how do you know that you're saving money? Especially when you look at insurance, when you look at, electricity is a massive amount of money these days. You have to shop around on once a year, maybe even twice a year, or often ever you can do that. That's where the big wins are.
Absolutely. And it can be difficult. So if you're faced with a house full of clutter, it can be difficult sometimes to get to the bottom of your paperwork and to get a full picture. But you will undoubtedly have the latest bills and things somewhere close at hand. They will be more readily available than some of the things from years ago that you might tackle when you do your full paperwork declutter. So what we're saying, if you want to make some savings fast, then focus on that paperwork decluttering first and foremost. Digital decluttering. And so obviously you've got digital decluttering to do with bills and all that kind of thing, same way you've got paperwork. So then two are now very, very interchangeable. But one of the big things that we really want to recommend in terms of digital is making sure that you unsubscribe from things, from marketing things, from shops, from all of that stuff. So you take the temptation away. If you have acquired things in the past and it's something that you really struggle with, then you need to take that temptation out of your way. And by unsubscribing to the multiple, if not hundreds of marketing emails that we get promising us the next best thing, it takes that completely out of your mind. You never even thought about it. And if you really, really want something, you can go and find it within 10 seconds of a Google search. And so don't worry about missing out on the latest sale and the latest offer, because if you don't use that offer, it's completely free if you don't buy it. And that's what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So in order to save money, do some unsubscribing. So paperwork might be a little bit difficult if it's scattered all over your house, but unsubscribing is something that you can sit there and you can do while you're watching TV at night or anything. And honestly, we had loads of people during the 40 days, 40 items challenge doing a lot of work on emails and making massive savings back in the day, right? So it was very clear that was what a lot of people were doing, saving a lot of money by doing digital decluttering. So don't overlook that.
I think it's the same a bit, Leslie, with like Amazon wish lists and baskets in your favorite shops, because we're so tempted when we see it in our basket, we want to buy it, right? Or when we see it on the list of things that when we get a bit more money, we can buy that again. But if you take it off that list in the first place and really ask yourself, what am I going to use this for? When do I really, really need this? And just take all that temptation away. Of course, we all need, we use online shopping to get things in our houses and things. But do we need to have as many of everything all the time?
Yeah. So I think, paperwork, digital decluttering, look at price comparisons, really important to make sure you're not overpaying for things that you need. Make sure that you've not got money that you're owed back from things. Quite often, a lot of companies, if you're paying by direct debit or standing order and things like that, they will keep hold of that money all the time until you request it back. So you can make huge savings by delving into your paperwork a little bit. And if you can declutter a little bit along the way, then it really is going to be helpful. So paperwork is where that money saving starts. But we are going to come back after the break and we are going to talk about some other areas that you can make some savings when decluttering.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back after your break. We are in the middle of talking about how you can save money when you're decluttering. And we had lots of good suggestions before the break, but we have more for you. And the next thing that we wanted to talk about is doing some management on your inventory. Leslie, what do we mean with that?
I think it's really important when decluttering, particularly, well, for everybody, but particularly when you're on a budget, to have a really close handle on what you have, that's an item of clothing, whether that's a cleaning product, whether that's something, toiletries or a bit of makeup, those kind of things. You really need to know what you've got so that when you go out and you do have to buy something, you're not overbuying. And so it sounds really simple, but honestly, the reason why we have amassed things is because we might be on our way home from work, run into the shops, think, oh gosh, did I have some shampoo? Or I can't remember. Well, I'll just buy one anyway. And then we completely forget about the one and it goes stale or we don't want to use it anymore. And that then is money wasted and an item wasted. To get a good solid inventory of what we have is so, so important so that we can then line all these things up, know exactly how many shampoos, how many cleaning products, how many pairs of knickers we have, for example, and then we don't go and overbuy. And it also gives us the opportunity to find things with little bits in it, which is what I know you wanted to talk about, Ingrid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, use up what you have. I mean, we often, when we talk about using up, we think about the leftovers in the fridge, right? Or we think about the couple of tomatoes in the vegetable drawer that we have to use up. But the same goes for, use up that little amount of shampoo that's in that bottle that's almost empty. So many times I go into clients' houses and then there's all these bottles lined up, and I'm like, why is there so many shampoos and conditioners and body washes? Oh, no, they're all nearly empty. And I'm like, let's just turn them around, let it all go to the top of the container so you can use it up. Because all these little bits and bobs really add up to a lot of money. It's with cleaning products. It's again with makeup. It's perfume. It's food. It is things in the freezer. All these things represent a tremendous amount of money. And by finishing things, finishing it completely and not even in a box with crackers, don't leave 2 or 3 crackers. Finish them, because if you leave them, they get to the back of the cupboard, they go stale, you can't eat them anymore. While you could have had another, lunch or breakfast out of those crackers and finishing something up completely. Oh, I I use it all the time, literally, when I'm at home. I'm like, use it up, finish it up. Don't leave a little bit, tiny little bit in there.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's loads of different ways that you can look at this. And so, yes, we've got cleaning products, we've got toiletries, we've got makeup, we've got foodstuffs, spices, all of those things in our kitchen are very much part of that. But then we've got things that we don't remember quite so much, that are a little bit more hidden. Things like notebooks, paper. We're constantly going out and buying, note to write on, or we're grabbing a piece of paper or our printer to write on. Look at the notebooks that we've got stored up. Look at cards that we've got. We've bought cards in the past to buy for people's birthdays and things like that. Have we got a card at home that we can use, even if it's not perfect? Is it good enough? And can we use it for someone's birthday without going out and buying new? Same with wrapping paper, with gift bags, all those things. Make sure you use up what you have before you go out and buy new. There's no harm these days in repurposing and using things over and over and over. People have an expectation that you're going to do that with a gift bag. So by decluttering your home and by having a better feel for what you have, it means that you will not go out and buy excess, which will save you money. So it's a massive win-win. We would advocate for this whether you are on a budget or not. We all want to save money wherever we are in our decluttering journey. Mm-hmm. But if you are on a budget, you just need to go that little bit deeper with it and really, soul search and find those things that you can that you've got too many of, right, Ingrid?
Yeah. I mean, so many things are popping into my head, Leslie, while you were talking, indeed, about it's even, tights. I find so many tights because they've been worn once, and then people think, oh, there must be a ladder in it. I'm going to get a new one from the new packaging. And then you find mountains full, piles of unsorted socks. Just sit down one evening and find all the pairs instead of buying a new pack of 10 socks yet again. It's all these little habits that we've gotten ourselves into. While when we try to break that cycle and go, hold on a minute, I am now going to gather like with like. I'm going to categorize it all. I'm going to find the pairs. I'm going to sort it all out. Oh, wow. So many people have so much more than they actually think they have. It's absolutely incredible. And just to be able to go, you know what, I'm actually going to use this up and have the volumes go lower, you actually have a much better idea of how what you have and actually what you're really missing and what you actually could buy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's actually one of the biggest benefits of decluttering, in my opinion, and also one of the most satisfying things about decluttering. It's way more satisfying to use up that bottom inch in a shampoo bottle than it is to discard that shampoo bottle with the inch in it, in my opinion. Is that just me being weird?
No, I am forever like, I'm like trying to almost squeeze the last little bit out of everything because I just don't want to waste it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very satisfying when all of a sudden you see the clutter going down, but you've not even used that full bottle of shampoo yet, but you've used 5 or 6 with an inch in the bottom, and you're like, there's 6 shampoo, 5 shampoo bottles gone out, win, but you've also saved a little bit of money in the long run by,
Yeah.
getting to that point. And so sometimes you have to compromise. And so, there will be things in your toiletries, in particular, in your, cleaning products in particular, that are not your favorites. But give them a go and just say, are they good enough? That's what we're looking for. Are they good enough for me to use to give myself a little bit of a break from having to go out and buy this new thing that I might buy every month at the shops or whatever? So important. It's
Yeah.
a massive, massive benefit of decluttering. We've got people in our membership who've done a kind of buy nothing for a year sort of scenario, and they're still using things that they found by doing this inventory management.
Yeah.
So important. So Ingrid, let's talk a little bit about some other things. And I think that, we've talked about frugal, and we talked about your mum and dad and how things are changing and people have become a bit more frivolous. I think there's a real sort of change, isn't there? We're still very much a consumerist society, way more than we were 50 years ago. But I think people are looking at stuff, looking at the environment, looking at sustainability, looking at sharing. And there are things happening out there that mean that we do not have to go out and buy things. So
Yeah.
what options are available if we don't want to go out and spend money?
Oh, people are so creative. I mean, you've got, these libraries of things that you can borrow, like garden equipment or things that you don't need all the time, like these big garden scissors, like to cut down hedges if you happen to have a hedge. You might want
Cheers.
to
Yes. Scissors.
cheers. Oh, scissors.
Ingrid like trying to
Yeah.
do it.
I could try. But I mean, I'm a little bit afraid of them because they're like, I'm like, oh, but so I let my husband do that. I'm not too, the equipment scares me, but we borrow it from my neighbor because we know he has one of those things to,
Yeah.
to cut hedges down. Why would we also buy one? We have a high pressure washer that he then borrows from us. We try to be smart, but people have really upscaled it with libraries of things, toy libraries, um, tools sheds where you can borrow tools. There are people who also have like kitchen equipment that they can, that you can borrow if you only want to do like a bread making once a year. Why have a bread maker in your house? Can you borrow it from somebody? Can you share it with somebody else and do a bit of swapping back and forward?
Yeah, and so there are definitely shops now where you can borrow things. You can also rent things as well.
Yeah,
So some of the things that we're talking about, you don't need to go out and buy, you can rent.
yeah,
I think that's one of the things that's come. It was all about owning your own things, but now as things move, people are having cars that they lease, for example. I think we're definitely moving more into a thing where it's like everything doesn't have to be permanent. Do you know what I mean? You can keep these things for a short amount of time and then pass them on. And so there's borrowing, there's sharing, and there's renting as well as options rather than buying things. Also, then let's flip it around and let's not talk about the acquisition of things. Let's talk, Ingrid, about what we do with the things that we want to declutter. Should we, in fact, sell them?
I think there's definitely a case for sometimes having to sell items. I mean, of course, our preferred thing is if you can donate it because it's the easiest, quickest way to give it away to whoever, friend, family, charity, goodwill, whatever it is. But some people have to be, really mindful of their budget. They have to sell. Nothing against that. Just make sure you've got a good process in place. Find out, do you want to sell it on Vinted? Is it going to be Facebook Marketplace? It's going to be eBay. However you're going to do it, do you understand the process and the limitations that are there for you to work within? I was talking to one of the members yesterday. She said, okay, I'm going to put some stuff on Vinted. And I said, fantastic. How did you get on? She said, oh my gosh, I'd forgotten how time consuming it was. And I said, well, this is then a good lesson for you to think about that and only do the things that really make it worth your while to do it, and not try just to put everything on Vinted because it's too time consuming. And she's like, yeah, I don't know, it's a great reminder for me. But I mean, I'm going to be happy for her if she sold some stuff, because she can use that budget for something else that she wants to buy, something that she wants to really needs or that she wants to enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's really all about deciding what your priority is. And so this is, if anybody's heard us, we, as Ingrid says, we favor donation for people where that's an option. And for some people, that's not. And trying to recoup money from the things that you are decluttering is a sensible thing to do, because it's going to bring more money into your home. So first things first, evaluate whether you need to do that. Does your budget mean that you can't just let things go without recouping that money? So think about that very carefully, because most of the people in our world can just donate and don't have to sell. But if you are one of those people that has to sell, then as Ingrid says, work out what's your goal for this. What's your criteria? So are you going to sell things that are definitely going to make you £10, for example? Have a thing, learn, evaluate as you're going along. How much time is it taking you? Is it better for you to do that once a week, once a day, once a month? Plan the process out and change it as you go along, so that it doesn't get bogged down. But whatever you do, do not just go through your entire house and keep everything to sell at the end and then go through it like that, because you'll be absolutely demented. You need to do it gradually, don't you, Ingrid?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if that's something that you want to do, absolutely go for it. But like we said, think it through and have a good process in place.
Yeah, exactly. It's so important to know that decluttering and organizing your home saves you money. That is just a thing. We know it. It's the truth. We are professional organizers. We go into people's homes with a view to helping them save money in the long run. We have a membership, we have a podcast, all of which is designed to help you declutter your home. But one of the things that we do is we want people to evaluate, okay, so I'm struggling to do this on my own. Yeah, and that is a very real thing in our communities. How do I get to the point that I want to get to with my clutter, so that I can still save money in the long run, but it might cost me some money in the first instance? And this is something that people really wrestle with a little bit, Ingrid, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've been professional organizers for 14 years. And, to get a professional organizer in your home on a one-to-one basis is not cheap. It's an expensive service. We think it's absolutely a valuable service that people, I want to say 99% of the time, I'm sure that pretty much everybody values what they have spent and thinks it was a worthwhile investment.
Yeah.
We realized about 5-6 years ago that not everybody could afford to pay for that one-to-one organizer, which is the very reason why we set up the Declutter Hub. But there is still a cost associated with the Declutter Hub on either a monthly, a quarterly, or an annual basis. But do we then, Ingrid, think that investment, or do we know from the success that our members have had that investment is worthwhile? What do you think?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Leslie. Absolutely. I mean, it's so interesting to see. I think what people expect is that they have less clutter, but what they don't expect is how much money they're going to save when they're in the membership, how much time they're going to save, how much their mindset changes about letting stuff come into their houses and all of those things. So I think they come in with, I'm going to come in for a month or a quarter or whatever it is, and I want to just tackle the stuff in my house. But through what they go through that in our membership, they see so many other benefits that we know. But I mean, how can you explain that to somebody, right? It's really difficult to say, but you're going to completely change the way you feel about your home and yourself and your life. And it's fantastic. And the saving of the money is something that they don't realize in the beginning. But then when they suddenly start to go, hey, actually, I have less clutter around me. I can think clearer. I have more time. I can now actually try and sell something on Vinted that I've been meaning to do for years. Or we've had it the other week, Leslie, somebody in our membership found a bunch of old like coins and blah, blah, blah. And she brought it away and she had like 135 pounds. Boom! Just by having the time, because the clutter is going down. So she's now having time to research and invest some of that time to go, what can I do with this? And it's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant.
It is fantastic, but I can understand. I think the one thing and where we sort of struggle to, you know, we know that it saves you money and we've seen the results of it a million times. But I think it's really hard to make that mental leap into thinking that your clutter that is a little bit of a noose around your neck at the moment is going to cost you even more money to eradicate.
Yeah.
I think that's the mental leap that people need to take, because it just feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? That you're going to spend money to get rid of your clutter. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that's the thing. But so, you know, we're not saying that's what you need to do. What's the difference between listening to our podcast every week and being in the membership? It's a huge difference, because we're going to take you on a very structured journey. We're going to be personally invested in your journey as well. You will get to know Ingrid and I really well. We will answer all your individual questions. You'll have accountability, all of those kind of things. So it's very different to listen to the podcast, because it takes you through a structured journey. That's the big difference. And one that's very close to Ingrid and I, to the experts. I say that. I think we are experts, actually. I hope
so, Leslie. We've been doing this long enough.
Yeah. So, and it's hard when you're on a budget, but many people in our membership are absolutely on a budget and have made that mental leap and are now reaping the rewards of having invested that money.
Yeah.
So again, it's about, you know, being kind to your future self and investing in yourself now so you can reap the rewards later. Yeah. So we just wanted to throw that into the mix of saving money, because we absolutely stand behind it. So it's an interesting one to declutter on a budget. Bottom line is, decluttering does not cost you any money, so go for it. Okay, go for it. It will save you money. Make sure you spend some time on your digital. Make sure you spend some time on your paperwork. Really evaluate whether selling is for you, whether that's sensible or not. Inventory is everything. Once you've got that inventory under control, that's going to save you money. And if you're really stuck in a bit of a rut and go, I'd really like to save money, but I just can't get myself to that place, think about making that investment in the membership or in a professional organizer to get you over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to know more about our membership, go to members.declutterhub.com and you will find all the information you need there. So we hope that our podcast has been helpful and has made you think. That's what we really, really hope with this podcast, that it's giving you food for thought and that you can think to yourself, how can I save some money with some of the suggestions that Leslie and Ingrid have been talking about today? How can I make that work in my own home? And of course, we would love to hear from you. So let us know if you've got any comments. Go to declutterhub.com, find our podcast, and leave us a comment in the comment section below each podcast episode. We would love to hear from you. So thanks so much for being here. It was an absolute pleasure, and we hope to see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.